Hey, Randy Joe here, and today we're going to be checking out Mac Miller's second posthumous release, Balloonerism. Like I said, this is the second album to come out after Mac Miller's unfortunate passing, following the first posthumous release, Circles, all the way back in 2020. Here we are 5 years later with Balloonerism. Now, like I said, this is the second posthumous release to come out after Mac Miller's unfortunate passing. And comes out 5 years after the first release after he passed, that being Circles, which in my opinion was one of Mac Miller's best projects to date, was an incredible album and is definitely worth a listen. However, unlike Circles, Balloonerism is not a collection of songs that he was working on before he passed, but rather a collection of songs he was working on years before his passing, with most of these tracks being worked on between 2013 and 2014, around the same time that he created his Faces mixtape. But without further ado, let's get into it. This has 14 tracks, 58 minutes. It is pretty much a full hour of, I want to say new music, but for most Mac Miller fans, this is nothing new. There's many leaks and unreleased demos that people found of this album, but to the masses, to the mainstream, this is almost an entirely new project, and is probably a little bit more touched up and kind of revitalized after his passing from his estate. But getting into it, here's Tambourine Dream, kicking it off, 33 seconds. Let's go. That's a tambourine, all right. Just a simple opener. Let's go into DJ's chord organ with SZA, legendary musician of the modern R&B. Seems we've even got Thundercat himself on here. I love how sweet and almost ambient this opening's been so far. A solid minute into the track, and it has been very beautiful, very heavenly and melancholic. Oh. Love that slow start. Super ethereal. A very buried mix. Love how deep those drums sound. Kind of reminds me of something Earl Sweatshirt would do in his production. Which I know they ran in the same circles. Kind of a funky instrumental that very kind of wonky falling down the stairs kind of effect. Really loving this mellowed out sort of organ. At least that's what I imagine is. Oh. Love how much this track feels like it's struggling to maintain its energy. It's kind of faltering. Really matches that kind of wonky. Is that an organ? Ooh. Very light on the Mac Miller, but heavy on that kind of soulful, melancholic direction he went into. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. And SZA does a great job complementing the entire sound of that track. You know, a little light on Mac, like I said, but even still, incredible opener. It feels like it's setting a tone. Here's Do You Have a Destination? Mac coming in full swing here. I'll feel it, Mac.
Okay, I went to sleep, faded, and I woke up invisible. Keep the ingredients, but I got the principle. Pray this life reciprocal, and I'ma come back an eagle. Thirsty for evil, the wine children hell. I gave my life to this shit.
So far, both tracks, like I was saying, the last one, love just how heavy and kind of washed out everything feels, especially those drums. And the bass is very thick and buried. Kind of a fuzziness.
Always been the realest, keep the same homes. Visible, rich, fucking miserable. At least I did Kimmel and Arsenio. My mom got it on video. That's the shit I live for. All this other shit is trivial.
He's doing it for the art, not the money.
No more coming for those residuals. Be asleep in a couple minutes. We still wonder why we'll never learn to love. It's because all the air is filled with gun smoke. A middle finger to the
Love the effects on his voice too. They kind of come in and out just like the rest of the mix. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Kind of like a heavy static of electricity. Very industrial almost. Like a slight abrasion in this outro. Ooh, ooh. Love that effect. Wow, let's keep it going. Great track. Once again, feels like it's just kind of opening things up. Here's go to $5 pony rides. Let's go to Friendly Hallucinations. $5 ponies. Brings things upbeat a little bit.
Can you hear the whispers of an innocent, ignorant
This one's
in the ocean, get to swimming or drown.
Kind of a thick one.
How long has it been since you smiled? Girl, I love the way your body fit inside that gown. Her mama
That bass, girthy.
Papa was an atheist, working on a novel set in Cold War. Vampire, higher than a hang glider. Look around and all I see is gray skies.
Love this whole chorus, especially just the way it kind of flows off Mac's tongue. Very smooth with his delivery. Great flow.
Came in for the answers, but she left with a habit. There's no one on the other end of that telephone. Let's fall asleep to the metronome.
We got SZA back in this one. Love those crashing cymbals too. Again, very heavy effect on this one.
Chest, you say I love you, you don't hear it back. Falling victim to a world filled with satire. Mark Twain admire.
Love that dialing back of the instrumental there. Really letting Mac take the center stage.
Read a passage to the cab driver. She only in the backseat of a taxi because the car is in the shop.
Oh. SZA really complements his voice quite greatly. Ooh, I recognize that sample there. Not surprised the bass on this thing is so effective. Producers Thundercat, with of course Thundercat himself on the bass. You can really hear it with just how kind of warm and effective the bass element is on these tracks. Oh, love these extended outros on a lot of these tracks. Really just, like I said earlier, letting the tracks breathe and kind of expand, which is great, especially for a record that's this vibey. It feels it's very focused on just a general atmosphere. Let's go into Miss Deborah Downer. So far, it's been a smooth listen.
Yeah, nothing is impossible. Seen him since. Guess I understand he always got the chills when he saw a room full of rolled up $100 bills. Yeah.
A deep, kind of depressing focus on this one. Just everything from the production to Mac's delivery feels very down in the dumps, which is fitting given the title. Oh. Even this refrain is quite negative. And incredibly melancholic this LP has been.
Yeah, started smoking weed again, started trying to read again, clean myself up, now would you be my friend? Do I need to know the beginning to see the end?
That eternal struggle for a kind of self-improvement, you know, it is a never-ending battle.
What's the difference between the truth and things that we pretend?
Of constantly trying to improve, but you kind of fall behind.
Only at the lows do I chase that high.
With the constant theme of drug use on this LP, as well as the melancholy that comes with it, it almost feels like we're in like some sort of eternal come down from a drug. Every track feeling like we are, kind of faltering long after the drug use. Maybe chasing a high or just coming down from it. It certainly doesn't feel like we're in the midst of a euphoric high on these tracks. Let's go into Stoned.
Yeah.
Keep this drug fueled trip going. Ooh. Is this a sample perhaps? The way it's kind of repeating feels like it. Oh.
She breaks down the paint. She rolls up the weed. She far from a saint. She's all that I need.
Produced by Larry Fisherman, aka Mac Miller himself.
She lost in her thoughts, so hardly she speaks. Her mind's always dirty in the morning. I wish you could feel me. She never felt
I like that effect there.
knock on her door.
Kind of wobbly.
I wish she would learn to live. Isolation. She locking the bathroom door.
Even that pounding of the door there. That main, I believe it's a guitar sample. Quite the lick.
It's shallow like the lies that she tells. Can run from isolation. She locking the bathroom door.
Seems like a negative, almost codependent relationship here. Him and this girl, giving themselves entirely over to that high.
Baby, let's get stoned. Put on a record. Can I play you one more song?
And kind of a sweet love song, kind of tied into it perhaps. However, may corrupt it may seem.
Just like home. Let's go home. Baby, let's get stoned. Put on a record. Can I play you one more song?
I really like this one. This one's super vibey, twisted in its narrative.
Let's go home.
Loved how that kind of continually plucking sound is stuck from the beginning there. Really keeping the pace. Here's Shangri, if I pronounce that right.
Don't be afraid to put your 2 cents in. Might not be able to afford anything, but I'm always up for a bargain. The dragons are flying south for the winter.
I like this effect on his voice, almost like an announcer.
They don't like cold weather either. Okay, I was driving
Coming to the forefront.
to get my meditation on. House, no mercy for the docile. Flow is hostile, but don't sleep. The codeine came back to get me high again.
Such a nonchalant delivery on this one. Even more so than usual. This whole LP kind of has like a kind of like a not just melancholic, but almost a numb kind of feeling to it.
Show me where all the old records are. She got a brand new dinette set, but she still don't know how to set the table.
A little reverse effect too in the production there.
Shit, that bitch so unstable.
And even the way that echoes out, tapers off. A very hazy track. Love the production on this one, especially. Very dreamlike. It's very wavery. I love the way things kind of taper off and re-enter. It felt very drugged out, like a lot of this LP seems to aiming for. Here's Funny Papers.
Did no one ever teach you how to dance? I saw his picture in the funny papers. Didn't think anybody died on a Friday. Some angry banker or some kind of money trader recently divorced or drunk driving down the highway and drove off the bridge to his
I like this narrative here being built off.
In the speakers, you could still hear the trouble going. The hospital was useless and everything was quiet but the music. Recently I only
the way that hones in.
Deep sleep in the same dream. World safe, smile on her face, waiting on the other side. I wonder if you'll take me to the other side. Yeah. What your eyes see, too naive for war and that'll screw you. Still bet it all on the glory, hallelujah.
A lot of these lyrics kind of alluding to death and heaven certainly hit different with Mac's passing.
I heard the answer in the gibberish of an old drum.
Almost like he's on the other side speaking to us.
If I could just pay my rent by Tuesday, I bet I'd be rich by April Fool's Day. The moon's wide awake, everything quiet but the music. Do you love silence?
I like these little kind of vignettes of this newspaper he reads from. Really smart kind of songwriting.
Baby boy, I saw his picture in the funny papers. 11 pounds numbers. Baby, there's a little vacation in the dresser. Take 1 for depression and 2 for your temper. Just pay my rent by Tuesday. I bet I'll be rich by April Fool's Day. The moon's wide awake.
Love his self-harmonizing too on this one. Emphasizing the numbness.
Oh shit, here come the icebreaker. It's danger when he's bringing out the lightsaber. The word's awesome, but he's talking out of turn off, and I blew the fuck up, then became the world's problem.
Easily one of my favorites so far, especially the kind of storytelling aspect, using the so-called funny papers here to kind of lay out these lives.
Bad hygiene, all about that gross life. Hate to see somebody fucking up their own life. Just roll the dice and put 20 on midnight. Have a feeling. Shit, I ain't an innovator. This is a motherfucking illustrator.
Really heavy, clear drums on this one. Again, kind of leaning into the kind of jazz aspect, I would say.
Why does it matter at all?
Easily one of my favorites of the record so far. Really great textures and arrangements on this one. That a lot of these tracks, well, like I said, kind of stretch into in their back halves. Let's go into Excelsior.
Yeah.
Seems to be the shortest of the tracks here.
Yeah.
Love the
Yeah.
dreamy kind of reverse effects on the LP.
On 4th Street, the orphan children play on the jungle gym. Little Timmy broke his arm again on the monkey bars. Johnny's dad got a nicer car than all the box. Claire just waits till she gets picked up by her grandpa. All of this before the brainwash starts. Before they get polluted, start thinking like adults. Life is fantasy and somersaults and
Speaking on that childlike wonder, it would seem.
before the world tear apart imagination. Before there were rules, before there were limits. Your only enemies were
Brussels sprouts and spinach.
me. I used to want to be a wizard.
Love the way that's kind of
Then
spliced
life
in.
gets so serious.
Reminds me of kind of like Earl's
Whatever
sweatshirt.
happened to apple juice and car wheels?
All right, well, with that one being as short as it is, only a single verse that feels like might not be the sharpest recording either. This one probably does feel a little bit more like a demo, a little bit more unfinished, especially when compared to the rest of these tracks that feel much more structured. But hey, you know what? On the 10th track, that's probably my least favorite so far. Not a bad thing. Let's go into Transformations with Delusional Thomas, again making another appearance.
It's gotta be fucking crazy, bro. This book's gotta be right, bro. Yeah, come on, These features.
It's an opening quite twisted.
Grab the Tecate and in the Pacifico, because one's a bottle and one's a can. I don't know how much I'm trying to go in. Thank you, bro.
Let's say half the track here, almost halfway through. Not a whole lot going on.
Blew my shit up with a thumb up like Henry Winkler. My bitch like a cane cover, put it in her sphincter. The bitch like
Oh, Delusional Thomas, one of the alter egos of Mac. I was gonna say the vocals here definitely feel like him.
a bad fart.
Had no idea.
What?
Maybe the bit more of a
Let me
cartoonish version of Mac.
Okay, hey guys.
The sillier alter ego.
I'm a psychopathic thinker, hyperactive drinker. I blew my shit up with a thumb up like Henry Winkler. My bitch like a cane cover, put it in her sphincter.
Oh.
Your bitch like a bad fart.
All she do is linger.
Definitely the more comedic route.
I should have been Kurt Schilling, would have had a sinker. Ahead of y'all chilling, fucking drill bitch, I'm young Jehovah. In the backyard with pads on, running Oklahomas.
All right.
Get low.
Similar to how I feel about the last track. Maybe a bit more filler. Much more silly. Some hilarious bars on that one. Although, certainly a bit more immature. Which does feel like whiplash considering how kind of nuanced and mature a lot of these lyrics do feel on this LP. But still, guess that's just Mac having fun. Let's go into Mannequins. Oh. Bit of a hard start. It's like
Yeah. Well, my good days are exactly like the bad ones. My bitch say,
Very
ratify the laws of
kind
attraction.
of lo-fi
I've always been terrified of anything
sample.
abnormal. We can't solve always seem to be my favorite ones. Life gets so boring, playing superhero makes it fun. But why is heroism so close to heroin?
Not sure how I feel about this one. Oh, maybe spoke too soon.
Tell you that you need to sleep, and suddenly you
A bit more of an operatic kind of flair to this one. Quite theatrical.
We've all been down that road before, poured alcohol on open sores. What can we do? 'Cause I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It feels like I'm dying.
Even this chorus, for me at least, this chorus feels quite flat, despite the fact that it's trying to be super kind of bombastic and operatic. Feels a little bit too kind of withdrawn. Another one that I'm not too big on, say 3 tracks in a row, definitely not my favorite stretch of tracks. Let's go into Rick's piano.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Originally titled Rick Rubin's Piano, apparently.
Rick Rubin.
There it is.
Rubin who?
The legend himself.
Rick Rubin's piano.
Yes.
A smile just in place of your makeup. The best is yet to come. Yeah.
I do like how much more stripped back this one is. Oh,
He's not dead, just a little bit faded.
even
Please
still.
don't give me any credit, that's how people get jaded. Please don't nod your head, and please don't tell me I made it. Cause people start to get worse once they think they the greatest.
Has a nice kind of,
Is yet to come.
does feel like a bit of a closing track in a sense.
Yeah. I told her it'd get better soon, up in the commotion. None of us are chosen, I'll forgive them for their ignorance. But what's a man gotta do for a little bliss? Fuck the future.
Is yet to come.
Not sure how I feel about that. I guess you'd call it an ad-lib. A bit too overblown and aggressive for my liking when paired to the rest of the track. This one a little bit too kind of overextended, I would say. At 5 minutes, I do think it could have been shortened down to 3.5 even. Honestly, a decent closer this would be if it were the last track. Especially with this back half taking up so much time, I feel like it would be a nice kind of extended outro. But instead, it does feel a little bit out of sequence, it would seem, with the track list. But let's go into the closer here. The final track, 12 minutes. This one is a whopping 12 minutes. Let's see if it, makes that time worthwhile. Love the kind of use of kind of like childlike wonder throughout this LP, adding to the feeling of nostalgia.
You walk through this world with your head above water, shoes made of copper just trying to float. The lake's frozen over. Look down at yourself.
Maybe the most disillusioned he's felt.
What staring back doesn't please you. The man don't believe you. He sees through the lies that you tell.
So far on the record, at least.
You wonder when God will just listen and give you a break.
Kind of reminds me of the opening of Circles. The cadence, the flow.
See, living and dying are one in the same. Do they dream just
Oh. Super atmospheric, this chorus. It's like we're sinking into a deep depression. Very airy.
You've been waiting for answers. These parades and dancers keep building.
I feel like we're in some sort of limbo, some sort of purgatory with these kids playing in the background there. Such an eeriness.
Escaping, the universe is breaking. You say you can't take it no more. The pressure is building like buildings you jump from. Wishing that wishing could lift this conundrum.
Ooh.
The streets that you walk on are shallow, but do you feel
Incredible verse. Incredible verse. Quite poetic.
dream just like we do?
Continuing these themes of the afterlife, of death. Oh. I love how sparse the arrangement is on this track, but even the LP in general is quite loose. And there's like this deep sinking feeling on this one especially though. Sounds getting slowly a bit more like twisted in its sound. It's like a slight mutilation and oh, the way things are cutting out, quite glitchy. Oh, this one's getting quite experimental with this outro. Very kind of ambient and like a sound collage. A phone that's never being picked up. Kids playing, maybe alluding to this loneliness and yearning for the past. Oh. This phone never being picked up is quite eerie in tone too. Maybe alluding even furthermore to concept of death. Or the inability to move on, perhaps. It's like heavy, kind of warbled synth as well. Quite thick. And there it is. That closes out Balloonerism by Mac Miller. Tomorrow We'll Never Know. What a mammoth of a closer. Quite experimental. Quite psychedelic. I really like the kind of back half of that track especially. I thought it was going to be too prolonged, too bland, too bold of an idea, but it does kind of pull it off quite well. I really like that never-ending ringing, kind of perhaps alluding to Mac's inability to kind of move on and grow and mature as he kind of deals with themes of nostalgia and missing and yearning for the past, I should say, which you can see run quite deep throughout this record, especially with the kind of children effect being played on the last track and a couple of the other tracks here. Again, further alluding to childhood and the kind of melancholic feeling that comes with maturing and growing up. Other than that, also themes of death are quite apparent, which always have been apparent through Mac's discography, but it feels even more kind of visceral here, knowing that this is the second posthumous release from him. It does hit a little bit harder with his passing, and all in all, it is quite a well-made, well-constructed posthumous release, which is saying a lot considering Circles released just 5 years ago. Wow, actually 5 years, a lot longer than I remember, but Circles is, in my opinion, the best posthumous release I've ever heard of any artist. I do think the estate for Mac Miller has handled it quite well. They've been very delicate with his releases. They've been very smart with the way they handle his releases after his passing. And Balloonerism is, no exception to the rule. This is a pretty solid album through and through. I do think the collaborations on this LP work quite well. The main one being SZA, who appears on a couple of the tracks, and she is a great addition to that opening track, DJ's Chord Organ, which again also sets up the very kind of melancholic ambient focus of the record that feels super atmospheric, super rich, and very textured, and not at all overblown. On top of that, the jazz rap leanings of this LP and the kind of washed out, kind of bassy and thick drums throughout this thing do add to the very dreamlike effect of the record. And I would say that the only kind of weak tracks on here would be tracks 10 to 12, especially, that being Excelsior, Transformations, and Mannequins. They do feel a little bit more like demos, a little bit less serious, especially Transformations, which I do think is the intention to be a bit of a kind of self-aware joke track. But even still, it does kind of take away from the very rich and atmospheric and kind of beauty of the rest of the record. Tracks 1, 2, and 9, though, were pretty strong, and I have to say my favorite would have to be Funny Papers, which I think had some of the best songwriting on the record. Just love the way it had these kind of quick kind of vignettes as Mac reads out these kind of interesting stories from the newspaper. But even with the melancholic kind of drowned out effects of the record, you do have some more upbeat, more kind of enjoyable, I would say, kind of tracks on here, such as track 4, $5 Pony Rides, which is far more, quick to the ear, quite catchy, has a greater appeal, but the deeper cuts here are quite hard-hitting, quite beautiful, and certainly kind of scratch that itch that Mac Miller has left us. All in all, this is a solid release. It is a great posthumous release, and honestly, a worthy release in the Mac Miller discography. But that does it for today's video. If you liked the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along in listening to more new releases, as well as old, because on this channel we are also covering the entire Pink Floyd discography and the Bjork discography pretty soon. So if that sounds interesting to you, please hit like and subscribe to follow along with my videos, because we got a lot more on the way. Balloonerism, just one of many new albums we will be checking out. As always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.